Welcome to Case Files of the Geek Gumshoe. I'm the Geek Gumshoe. This case comes to us from, well, all over the place. For as long as man has looked up into the sky, there have been reports of strange flying objects going here and there. Things we can't explain seem to be a constant source of theory and speculation. Now, the highest ranks of the U.S. military have finally released a report on their findings of their investigation of some very interesting sightings. However, the release was met with frustration and disappointment at the fact that while the report concedes the existence of UFOs, there is no admission that they have anything at all to do with alien intelligence. So why is it that the government feels that they can talk about the existence of unknown flying machines and yet continue to deny the existence of aliens? Many wonder, what basis could there be for holding back on committing to that concept? So here are a few points on the reality of that particular matter. At its most basic level, the government admitting to the existence of aliens would mean them admitting that there is something else in the universe and here on our planet that they are sorely prepared to deal with. We do not have a system in place or in development to handle anything outside of something within the confines of our atmosphere. Admission of something which could be seen as a threat could lead to people losing all faith in government and, at worst, mass panic. Let's face it, people can't even hear about an impending snowstorm without losing their minds. Why would we expect anything different from a release of this magnitude? Now, on the topic of UFOs themselves, there are several things that define a sighting of a UFO, beyond the simple fact that it isn't easily and immediately recognizable as a particular aircraft. And one of the factors that makes a UFO stand out is its visual appearance. They seem to either have a shape, structure, or propulsion system that we do not recognize. So, when we see footage of a military aircraft recording something like a UFO sighting, it reasonably makes us question the provenance of that object. That does not, however, necessitate us accepting that the only possible conclusion is men from Mars. Chances are that a lot of the things that have been spotted are the results of stealth technology that is quite terrestrial in origin. Airplane skins that repel or alter what is seen by radar, infrared, or night vision exist for the purposes of concealing the aircraft and its affiliation. Like this footage here, this delta shape is quite common in UFO sightings. However, it's also quite common in the design of stealth aircraft. And those planes are capable of some very high speeds. It is quite possible that these delta wing craft sightings are all, or in some part, sightings of stealth aircraft. And it's not far-fetched to consider the possibility of unmanned drone aircrafts with electric propulsion systems that don't emit a heat signature, something else that people often cite as a reason for believing something is an alien-powered aircraft. Now, a big reason why government officials might believe that these aircraft are man-made is the location of where most of these sightings take place, and that is over open water. That means that we have to consider that a certain amount of thought went into flying in these locations where the craft are seen, and that lends to a very human trend. The fact is that both military and private sector companies are constantly developing new flight technology, and the best place to test new tech is over open water. It minimizes eyewitnesses, the potential for fatalities with pilots, damage to public properties, and it ensures that wreckage cannot easily be seen or recovered by enemies or competitive companies. Aliens likely wouldn't concern themselves with such things. But, some may ask, what about those incidents where ships appear to defy physics? We must never forget that all matter, regardless of its origin, is subject to basically the same laws of physics. Basically. It's not an absolute, but the basic laws should apply. meaning that just because a ship comes from another planet doesn't mean it can come here and do impossible things. So unless some society has come up with the ability to travel between dimensions, then we have to accept that a craft moving in a way that is not physically possible is likely the result of some kind of trick of light and mirrors, or we're just not getting a true register of what is happening. Believe it or not, cameras sometimes don't tell the full story, and they record in a two-dimensional format, which means that a whole other dimension of movement is not being recorded. This case of the so-called Tic Tac UFO, captured by crew of the USS Nimitz, is a prime example. This craft disappeared from sight, but then was spotted again 60 miles away after only a few moments by a different crew. In this case, the more likely scenario is that the craft was not a singular object, but instead two identical but separate craft. Of course, that leaves the question that if a species can travel between dimensions, why do they keep popping up to let us see them? I mean, why are they here in the first place? Because we cannot possibly teach them anything. I mean, there's always the possibility that we're a tourist destination, like stopping off to see monkeys at the zoo, but a species that advanced couldn't possibly need anything that we could provide. In conclusion, I said all that to say this. If our government chooses to refuse to acknowledge the presence of aliens, it's more likely the result of the evidence in this research showing that these phenomena have a reasonable explanation, and pointing to the existence of aliens is not something that they feel the need to reach for just yet. We can sell the alien story when we're faced with an actual alien walking out of a spacecraft that has landed in the middle of Central Park like something out of the day the Earth stood still. But now, we'll likely just keep hearing that the sightings in question are believed to be earthbound craft with experimental tech. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is definite or that there are no aliens out there. I'd be a fool to make such a statement. I don't have a foolproof explanation for all of the footage that we've seen. I just don't think the incidents covered in this report are completely unexplainable to the point that we have to say that ET is here and he wants all our Reese's Pieces. What do you think of the content of the Pentagon report? Do you think they should have admitted to the presence of aliens? Leave me a comment. Let's discuss it. Do you have video or photos that I need to evaluate, or a story I need to turn my eye to? Leave a comment here, or send me an email at geek.gumshoe@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the show, buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. And until the next case brings our paths together again, keep your mind and eyes open, but don't be an easy mark. Geek Gumshoe, over and out.